Hello everyone, Johnny Hurricane here from GamersHeroes.com, and why don't you sit back, relax, and let me tell you about Man of Medan. Before we go any further, a code was provided by the publisher. Man of Medan starts in 1947, with some American soldiers... Man of Medan starts in 1947, with some American soldiers loading coffins and cargo onto a large boat. Here you start as two buddies drinking and unwinding before shipping off of China to head home. Everything seems relatively normal, but we don't know what is in the cargo, and we also don't know what happened to those guys that are in the coffin. While the other soldiers are working, you and your buddy drinking are playing around. This serves as the tutorial for the game, the quick time events, and how to attack when you can attack, and also you get some choices. The big thing here is that you need to realize there's only a certain amount of time before things go wrong. Even with the choices, you don't have unlimited time. On your way back to the ship, you run into your sergeant and you have a little bit of a disagreement. It results in you getting knocked out and your friend being locked in the brig. You wake up to gunshots and screams, and when you do wake up, you are also locked in the infirmary from the inside. Once you get the key and escape, the real horror begins. The ship is under attack by something that you can't see, and the troops are going crazy. This section wraps up, and you really honestly, you have more questions than you do answers. But after that, we warp to the main characters. Fast forward to 2019. The group has hired a captain to send them to a potential wreck site, a place that hasn't been dove before, but could potentially have a downed airplane. Lo and behold, the info was accurate and the airplane is down there. The group spends a little bit of time debating if they should actually go check it out before reporting it, and ultimately they end up doing that. During this interaction, you do learn more about the characters. Fliss is all about respecting the customs and respecting the sea. Conrad is laid back and kind of arrogant because he's rich. Alex is sort of the more cautious of the group. He thinks things through a little bit more, but he's also easily persuaded. Brad is Alex's younger brother, and he's very nervous, not really a people person, and gets seasick very easily. Julia is the most assertive one, and she is really the one who is like, hey, we paid for this dive, we're going down. This all plays into the trait system, which is the traits of each character. You can look at these easily anytime as long as you're in single player. For whatever reason, you can't look at them in co-op. And basically, depending on the decisions you make, you'll earn new traits or you will empower certain other traits. Ultimately, it didn't make a ton of difference, but it's a cool little system. As I'm sure you could have guessed, things go wrong and some pirates actually end up hijacking your boat. So, while they're doing that, you're trying to figure out the plan to escape or, attack them, whatever you want to do. Ultimately, this ends up putting you on the boat, the big boat, with the coffins, with the dead GIs, and with the mysterious cargo. Your main objective is to get all of the characters off of the ghost ship alive. And while you're down there, maybe figure out what happened. Overall, the game is super short. If you play co-op, you'll probably get about 3 hours. That was our first playthrough. Single player, 4. Like the studio's last game, Man of Medan is a cinematic experience mixed with a walking simulator. You have to make character choices, avoid death via quick time events, and sometimes play a rhythm mini game to avoid being seen. When you aren't doing that, you're walking around the ship, finding clues and notes that the previous occupants left behind. Walking in these types of games have always been rough. These cinematic games are not designed really for the walking parts, more for the experience, and the camera angles in this game can be pretty bad at times. Ultimately, you'll end up running into each other and, running into doorways and missing corners. One thing the game has going for it, that it's entirely co-op. You can do online co-op, couch co-op, or single player. Didn't try the couch co-op, but I played a lot of online co-op. Sadly, I have to report that the connection in the game was rocky at best. The problem here is that when you have a weak connection, which we had a couple of times, the game automatically pauses. It automatically pauses regardless of what you're doing, so if a quick time event is going on, sorry bud, you're going to jump right back into that and probably lose it, which happened to us, and we ended up losing one of our characters. You also can't see your character traits, even though it always says trait updated or bearing changed while you're playing online. Don't know why, that seems like a huge oversight. I will say that the story is designed for co-op and it works very well with co-op, it just doesn't work great online. Online was not the only spot that we had issues though. There's a lot of frame drops and we were playing on the PS4 Pro. Now this is not just a co-op problem, it happens in single player as well, so I have to assume couch co-op would have it also. Now for some positives, sometimes the game looks mind-blowing, like real-looking people and real-looking textures. Other times, the faces look just plain bad, almost like there's robotic, no emotion, something like that. And the textures look like they're an early PS3 game. It's so jarring. Now outside of the frame drops, when I was playing solo, I had no bugs or no crashes. Co-op was a different story. I did crash once, which sucks. You do lose a bit of progress, but it auto-saves enough that you can get right back to that point pretty quickly. However, the bug that we suffered from blocked us from progressing any further. While you're playing online co-op, sometimes you have to wait for your partner to make a decision. It's not very long, but when they do it, it then gets back to you. The bug we suffered from, he made the decision and I was just stuck. My face was just on the screen. It wasn't froze, my character was blinking. I just couldn't do anything. I was stuck there. So we reset, ran into the bug again. Reset the PS4, ran into the bug again. Big problem here is you can't do scene selection until you actually beat the game. So basically we were left with two choices: new game or don't play. Another issue we had was that the characters interacting with each other was sometimes not so good. You'd say something and it's almost like they weren't even there, like the other character didn't even hear it. An example of this early on is when you're captured by the pirates and Alex has his hands free and no one else does. Alex pounds on the door, pirate sees them, tells him to go sit down. Alex then sits down and says, "Hey, don't let them see your hands. If we free ourselves, they won't know we're free." And it's just like, dude, the pirate just saw you beating on the door with your hands free. If that was the only instance of this, then maybe it'd be alright, but it does happen quite a bit. And ultimately, it does hurt the quality and overall experience of the game. On the other hand, your character can pick up a note, get the information, go speak with another character about that note, and have a conversation that you won't have unless you found that note. So there's quality there, but it's so inconsistent that it hurts the game ultimately. Obviously with the game this short, there's a lot of replay value, but with all the technical issues, I don't think a lot of people are going to want to do it. There is a chapter select, like I said. Problem there is that if you go down a different route, let's say you pick like chapter 4 and you do a different thing, well, now you're locked into that playthrough until you beat the game. You cannot go back to chapter select until you're done. And for the record, I would have been cool with that if I didn't run into a bug where I cannot beat the game, the only game where I have all 5 people still alive, by the way. While Man of Medan is a decent horror story, bad technical problems and inconsistency derail the entire experience. I'd say wait for a patch or two before even considering a purchase. Alright, that will do it for me. If you liked what you saw and got what you needed, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys in the next video. Later, Gators.